Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my favorite makeup brushes video. This is for face and eyes, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off with eyes because I always do my eyes first when I do makeup. So I'm going to start off with this brush right here. It is I don't know the number of it, but it's called the Doll Face brushes, and I believe this is I don't know if y'all have seen her before, but Victoria Lynn on YouTube. I believe these are her brushes. I got sent a pack of these brushes when I won one of her giveaways, and this was in them, and they are beautiful brushes, but this is my favorite to like set down like my primer with. It's also a really great highlighting brush, like if you want a more detailed, and it's great for so many things. It's great for setting under your eyes, but I just personally like it to set down my primer. Okay, next, this brush right here is what I use for blending. Like once I've already put something in my crease, this is what I use to blend it out, and it's also the brush that I use to start off with in my transition. And so this is the Morphe 505 brush. That's what I like to use that for. It's very, very fluffy and big, so it's perfect for blending. Next, this is the brush I like to use to actually apply colors to my crease, and this is the Morphe 433 brush. That's what it looks like. It's still a little bit fluffy, but it's a little bit more tapered and dense at the top, so you can really like pack on that color, but then it's not too dense where you can't kind of blend it out a little bit before you go back in and blend it, because you don't want something that's super dense and just packing it on in the crease, because then it's going to be a little bit harder to blend. So that's my favorite. Just to let y'all know, a lot of these are Morphe brushes, but there are some others. I'm not an affiliate or anything like these. I bought all these with my own money, but they're just really affordable brushes, and so that's why I have them. Okay, next, for the brush that I like to use on my outer corner to kind of deepen things up and like with darker shades, this is the Morphe M514 brush. It's still really fluffy, but compared to the blending brush, it's not as big and fluffy. It's got more white hairs. I really don't know that much about synthetic and natural and stuff like that, but it's a lot more fluffy, but it tapers and it's a lot more packed at the top. So I feel like it's great because I don't really want something too dense, just like in the crease. This is even less dense than the one in the crease though, because I want to just kind of be able to buff out that darker shade in my outer corner, because I don't like to just pack it on and then blend it out. I like to put some on, and then if I need to, keep putting some on. That way I don't get it too deep, because then it's going to look muddy and unblended, and I don't like that. And so I can't remember if I said, but this is the M514 brush. So that's what that looks like. Next, to put like in my like inner corner, or to smudge out on my lower lash line, this is like a pencil brush. It's kind of packed a little bit and it comes to a point, and this is the Morphe M431 brush. So that's what it looks like. These are all dirty, I'm sorry, because I've just used them, but I always like to use these to smudge out my lower lash line, or like after I clean them, I'll like use it and I'll pack on stuff on the inner corner to bring some lightness there. I even sometimes use it to smudge, like if I don't want liner but I want like a darker color kind of as an eyeliner, I'll use it to smudge on that. And so it could probably even be used as a brow bone shade, but I don't use it for that, but it would be great for that too. So this is one of those good multitasking brushes. Okay, next is the brush that I like to use to put on my brow bone. A lot of times I don't really like a packed on color. If I do want a packed on color, I use the Real Techniques shading brush, and I just like pack it on with this. But if I don't use that, and I do have other brushes, these are just like the ones I use the most. But this is the EcoTools, I'm not even sure, it's kind of rubbed off, I don't even know. It came in a pack. I've had this for a very long time, but it's kind of like an angled brush, and it's really fluffy, but I feel like it just kind of contours to my brow bone perfectly, and so that's what I always use. But it's an EcoTools, and I think it came in like one of their packs of eye brushes. I got it at Walmart a really long time ago, so that's what I like to use for my brow bone. Now lastly, for my eyes, I like to use like flat shader brushes to pack on color for my lid, which is normally like a shimmery shade because that's what I love on my lid. I use 2 different brushes. I go back and forth for weird reasons, but I have these 2, and the reason I go back and forth between them is because this one is black. I know it's really stupid, but it's like a black hair, and so I use this for like darker colors, so I feel like it doesn't stain it as bad. I don't know, it's weird. But this is the Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadow brush, so I pretty much always use these with the foiled shadows, and I use these with other shadows too, like shimmery shades, even like matte shades too, just to pack it on. It gives the most punch of a color, so that's what I like to use for that. And then my second one that I like to use, it's a lot more packed even than the Makeup Geek one, and it's just a really great brush, but it's a white, so I kind of get scared using dark colors. Even though I do wash my brushes, I just I don't know, I get scared because it's white. So this is the MAC 239 brush. So that is one of my other favorites for packing on color on the lid, and I just take it and dip it in, and then I can either pat it or I just gently swipe it on my lid. So that's what I love those for. Now let's go ahead and get into face brushes. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try and go in order of how I would apply my makeup, like what brushes I would use. So let's go ahead and start off with foundation, because that's normally the first thing that I use. For foundation, normally I use like a beauty blender, or this is the L'Oreal sponge. This has been my favorite lately. I normally use a sponge, but if I'm going to use a brush, I like to use this IT Cosmetics, what is it? Heavenly Luxe number 6 flat top buffing brush. It's pretty widely spread instead of being super packed, so it still like spreads it around really well, but I like it because it's bigger than some. Like I have this other IT Cosmetics brush, but it's a lot smaller than this one. It's a little bit denser, but I just feel like this one blends it out even more, and you can kind of like pat it in to kind of press it in and then buff it all over, and it's just a really beautiful brush. The IT Cosmetic brushes are beautiful. I don't have any other eye brushes, but I love their face brushes. Okay, next would be my powder, like to set my powder. I can't find it, but like a lot of times if I just want a loose amount of powder just to set it down really quickly, I like to use the e.l.f. Kabuki brush. But if I'm using like a loose powder, or if I just want to use something different, I've been leaning more towards this one lately, and it's the Morphe E3 brush. It's kind of tapered at the top, but it's really fluffy, but it still packs on good, and I feel like it's even good for, another thing is all these brushes are so soft, but it's really great to get under your eyes with, and also if it's like a powder foundation, you can really pack it on too, so I love this for powder. Now for next, I would normally do bronzer. So for bronzer, my favorite out of even like high-end brushes is the e.l.f. complexion brush. I don't know, it kind of like tapers up a little bit, and then it's almost kind of like fan-like right here, so I feel like I can really get like all around, and it's a good size, but it's not too big. I used to use this brush, but it was just way too big, and I was getting too much where I didn't want it, and so this, I feel like it gets exactly where I need it to. If you have like maybe a bigger forehead, I don't feel like at least too big of a forehead, but then this one is really great. I like to use this just to like blend everything out, like my blush, my contour, or whatever. If I need to go back and blend something out, I use this Morphe M527 brush, but this is a really great brush too. But for bronzer, I like the e.l.f. complexion brush. For contour, I like to use this NYX contour brush. It's a weird contour brush. I had a hard time. I have this e.l.f. brush right here for contouring, but it's just too sharp. I don't like a sharp contour. So this is really great. I dip it into my contour, and then I just contour my cheeks with it. Go down, I can even pinch it a little bit and go down my nose contour and like go across my jawline, just whatever. It's a really great brush. That's my NYX contour brush. Now for blush, I have 2 different brushes that I like to use. Actually, real quick, I forgot my concealer brush. I don't really use a concealer brush that often, but I do use it with pot concealers. And this is the Real Techniques concealer brush. It's kind of angled, but it's a little bit packed, and I can just dip it in and then just apply it, and then I'll go back in with like my L'Oreal sponge or my beauty blender and blend it out. So that's what I like for that. Now for blush, I have 2 different brushes, and I'll also have 2 different brushes for my highlight, but I go back and forth between these. But for blush, I like the Morphe E4 brush. It's got like that angled kind of look. It's pretty fluffy, but it's a little dense. It fits perfect to the apple of my cheek where I can apply it, but that's my favorite. So I really like this brush a lot. But to go back and forth, I have this IT Cosmetics, it's called the number 227 Flawless brush, and it's also got that angled, but it's a little bit more wide spread out bristles than this, like comparison. You can kind of see it's dirty, I had blush on it, but it's just wider, so I feel like it kind of shears out your blush more instead of just stamping it on, because I don't really like to do that. Sometimes in my video I notice I do that, but just because I don't really have a choice with this. It's so thin, I kind of have to stamp it and then blend it out, because I can't just sweep it. It's a little too, not rough, because it is soft, but I just don't feel like it glides in on as well as maybe this one does, because it fits like my whole cheekbone right there, and then I can just like blend it out, and it's even softer than this one. So it's like a tie between these 2 of my blushes, my blush brushes. That's a tongue twister. Okay, and then lastly for highlighting, I go between these 2. It depends on my highlighter and stuff like that which brush I will use, but I really love this EcoTools fan brush. It's really great for pretty much every highlighter I have. I just like kind of dip it into the whole thing, and then I just glide it on my cheeks, down my nose, my forehead, Cupid's bow, and my chin, because I like to be so glowy. But it's really great. Now if I want a little bit more detailed highlighter, or specifically the ColourPop highlighters, this brush works better with this. It's a lot fluffier. I don't know what it is about it, but I can get a better look with ColourPop highlighters than this. I'm still on the hunt for the perfect one for the ColourPop ones, because they're a little tricky, because they're almost like a cream. But I take this and I dip it in, like if this is the highlighter, I dip it in, and then I go like this. And this one fits my nose perfectly. It's a little smaller, so it's a little bit easier to pinpoint the exact area. So it just depends on what I'm going for or what product I'm using, but these are my 2 favorite highlighter brushes. So those are all my favorite brushes. I really hope y'all enjoy this video. Maybe you got some ideas on some brushes you could pick out. A lot of these are really affordable or have affordable options to them. So please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.